I'll demonstrate with an AR-34 here. Just going to hook it in that hook, I'm going to pull it underneath the riser pins, and it holds itself in place. You don't have to hold it in there. When you're making adjustments on this thing, you can loosen them up, and you can move them wherever you want to move them to. Not a problem. It holds everything in place so that you can do this. Once you get these pins set as far out on the riser as you possibly can, and I said riser, most companies, surprisingly enough, do not want you pressing on the limbs past the rocker here. They claim that it changes limb deflection, and it does to a certain point, and there are some bows that you cannot press on the riser. They're just not designed for it. You have to press them on the limb. It doesn't hurt anything as long as you are careful when you're pressing them like that. This particular bow here, I'm going to press them on the ends of the riser, just like it is, without touching the limb pocket, without touching the limb. I'm going to get it set. Riser pins are set, they're looking good. I'll raise this arm here so that I set this pin, the limb pin, so that it evens up with the V, the bottom of the V. It's set. This pin here, I'll set it the same way. It evens up at the bottom of the V right there. It's set. I'm ready to quick adjust. I'll move the quick adjustment out, tighten it up, and just a few turns of the crank handle is all it's going to take. Just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now you can see all the stresses are relieved. Right here. How the string jumped off of the track right there, that is the primary purpose for that spring. Holds the strings in track so that when you're working on the bow, you don't have to worry about whether those strings are popping out on you. Most presses, when you press them, you have to just let them flop. Then when you go to let it down, you have to put them all back in the track, and you got to get it to where you can hang on to it and make sure that they're in track. You can hold the string up. No. This press, when you're done with whatever you need to do with that bow, you just hook the string retainer spring on it and start letting it down. You don't have to touch it while you're coming down with it. Now you can see right here that string is pulling that spring down. When you're letting it down, you want to watch for clearance right here. There will be a gap between the limb and that pin. You get that gap, you come over here to your quick adjust, hit it, pull the bow right out. That's the slow method for breaking down a bow in that press. There aren't too many shops out there right now that can take this bow. This is a tournament bow. It's got a 3-foot long stabilizer, 12-inch sight bar. Not too many people out there right now that can take this bow and put it in their press the way that it is without taking anything off of it. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. Got it in the press. Get it set. Set the limb bolts. Got the limb pin set. Tighten up my quick adjust. Right here. Nothing's come off the bow. The sight's still on it. It's got a scope housing on it. I'll go ahead and I'll just crank the jack a few times. It's ready. I can change the strings, cables. When I'm done, hook it back up. I've still not removed any of the equipment. The dampeners are still on it. I don't have to remove them. I can let the bow down. Loosen the quick adjust. Pull the bow out of the press. It's that simple. Like I said before, that was the slow method. Once you use it a few times, it gets faster, much, much faster. Once the jack's broken in, it's one finger operation. Takes even less time. Now, how many other bow presses can you do that with? I said something a minute ago about timing these bows at full draw in this. It is possible. You don't have to leave the machine to time them at full draw. All you have to have is this right here. This is called the time machine. This just attaches just like that. That's all it takes right there. Now, the way that it works, I've got a 29-inch bow here. What I want to do first is I want to take this bow and I want to install it in the press just like I'm going to press it. I put it right there, as far out on the riser as I can without touching the limb pockets or the limbs themselves. And I want to make sure that that burger hole is lined up the center of the time machine. The only way that this time machine changes this press is it does give it a definite center. You have to have the burger hole centered with the time machine to make it work right. Now there is some play in this time machine back and forth. That's to compensate for knock travel. This system works to time cam and halves, single cams, and binary cam bows. All three. Double cam bows, they're not slaved together. They won't work in this. The only way that you can time a double cam bow is to actually put it in the shooter's hands and time it, and they have to draw it the same way every time that they draw it to make it work right. But with the hybrids, the single cams, and the binaries, the cams are slaved together. Single cam, there's only one. It doesn't have to be slaved with anything. Both the binaries and the hybrids, they're slaved together. One cannot turn without the other one. You just want to set it the way that I said. These riser pins, as far out on the risers, you can get them without touching the limbs. And then you want to measure. This is a 29-inch bow. The front of my riser's here, which is the way that the draw length is measured on this bow. Now I've got 29 inches from the hook at the top of the time machine to the end of the riser. That's exactly what I want. Now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to take it off of there, and I'm going to hook it on the time machine hook, and I'm going to pull it down under the riser pins, making sure that I'm still lined up in the center with the time machine with the burger hole. And that's going to hold it at full draw for me. Now I'm on the stop right now, so I'll let it down just a little bit so that I'm off the stop, which I'm off about 1/8 of an inch right there. I'll slowly tighten this up and micro adjust this bow to full draw. Just now, just barely touching the stop. The top cam is all the way in the track. This bow is perfectly timed. I can pull it out. I'll let up. Very solid wall.